Bridget Bellavigna, welcome to Landlord Confidential.
Thank you.
Let me introduce you to the audience real quick. So, we know you as a daughter, a Navy veteran, a small business owner, a fitness enthusiast, a realtor, a leader, and most recently a constable.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
A dog owner.
A dog owner?
How many dogs do you have?
I have two.
What
Two
kind?
miniature Australian Shepherds.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's
they
a-
keep me hopping.
Energy, huh?
Yeah, and I used to own greyhounds for many years.
Nice.
So,
Keeps you active out and about?
yes.
Yeah.
Walks every day, whether I like it or not.
That's great. Let's start with, where were you born?
New York, Manhattan,
New York.
Greenwich Village, right in the middle of it all.
And I think in previous conversations you told us that you lived in Croatia and Puerto Rico, right? So
Correct, yes.
how did that shape your worldview living?
Well, back when I lived in Croatia, it was still Yugoslavia before they had their civil war and they split up into several different countries. And we lived in Zagreb, and my dad basically opened up a rug manufacturing company out there. And back in the day, they used to make handmade rugs with just a needle going through. And then he invented, the inventor, a device that he was able to put on the end of a drill chuck, and then they were able to do it like this. So when they were making rugs way faster. So they built that, and we opened a factory in Zagreb, and then we also, that's what brought us to Puerto Rico as well, and then to Florida after that.
Okay, and then on to Florida. How did you end up in Arizona then after all of that?
I joined the Navy. Oh, I guess we missed veteran, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, we got veteran.
I got veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I left Florida, went in the Navy, and it brought me out to what was then Naval Air Station Miramar, which is now Marine Corps Air Station Miramar.
Yeah.
And I worked on the flight line there on airplanes, and I was playing rugby out there, and I traveled to Arizona quite a few times. And when I got out of the Navy, I was staying in San Diego for a while, and then I just decided this, you don't go to the beach, you don't do all the things you're supposed to do when you go to California, and I'm like, okay, this isn't any fun. So I said I liked Arizona, and a friend of mine that I played rugby with lived here. I moved in 1988 and never left.
Never left.
Yeah.
You just fell in love with the Arizona summers or what?
Did. Yeah, I don't care. I'd rather sweat than be shivering.
Agreed. That's why we're here.
Wow, in 1988, so you've seen the valley change a
Oh,
bunch.
tremendously, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, the East Valley was hardly built out, right? The
No, I moved
202 loop
into
was here.
Ahwatukee in '92, and everybody's like, "Why are you moving all the way out there?"
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, what's over there right now at like Ray and 48th Street, what used to be a junkyard. The only thing that was there was the Target, but everything else was Chandler, and the I-10 was just cornfields and cotton fields. I mean, there was nothing
Wow.
out there.
So you've seen a
So,
ton of
I've
infrastructure
seen
pop up
a
here
ton
over
of
the years,
change,
yeah.
And I've watched every freeway almost come together, and I'll say that ADOT's done a tremendous job keeping up with the growth of our city,
Yeah.
our metropolitan city,
Yeah.
and keeping traffic moving. I'm totally impressed. I've been a lot of places, and they've done things might slow down, but things rarely stop.
Right.
So
There was so
that's why
much.
we stay that way.
There was so much conflict down in Ahwatukee about the whole development of the Loop 202.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what is, after it's been built now for a couple of
Oh,
years,
what
what are
are
your
you
thoughts on
gonna
the
do?
202? Yeah.
It's doing exactly what we thought, and the reason why we didn't want it is all the truck traffic goes through there.
Yep.
So we have the noise, we have the pollution. Where
Yeah.
in the old days, before that was in there, our side of the mountain was clear, and then as soon as you came up over off of Elliott on the 10, you could just see the smog in the rest of the city.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ever on our side because the mountain pretty much protected us, and now that's
Right.
pretty much gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, is it nice to, when you have to go to a Cardinal game or something like that? Yeah, it's nice to not have to go through downtown, but
Yeah.
again, for me personally, I'd say, I don't really use it that much, but I understand that it released a lot of traffic and truck traffic in downtown Phoenix, and I guess that makes, you got to give up some things to have nice things.
I know. Like, can you imagine the gridlock we'd be experiencing right now on that construction on the Broadway curve?
Oh,
if they hadn't done the
what a
202 ahead
nightmare.
of time, like, it's already a nightmare going
Because they
through
don't
there.
have that much truck traffic unless they're
Yep.
actually going to Phoenix. They're going around it.
Yeah, going
So-
around. Yeah.
So I guess
Interesting.
it's been beneficial, but
Yeah.
when you live there and it's been your house or you're right up against the freeway, it's not a real thrill.
Story, yeah.
Yeah.
When we first met, you were a fellow property manager. Tell us
Yes.
about how you first got started in real estate.
Back in 2004, I just decided I wanted to start investing, and I started working with some realtors that were investing with people. We did some spec builds back then, and I started working with investors, and then in 2008, 2009, when everything exploded, all the mortgages all happened, I had a lot of investors that ended up buying a lot of the houses that went for sale, and there was not many property management companies back then. So I'd been in the industry 4 years by then. I got my broker's license and then started property management, and that's kind of, I had a built-in clientele just because I had so many clients that bought so many properties that it was pretty easy to start up.
So what were these clients doing with these properties originally?
Right.
They were renting them from the
They didn't
get-go?
own them at all. They started buying them when the market dropped and the short sales happened.
Oh, okay.
So they were buying them all $75,000, $100,000, you know, and then they were just holding them until recently, and then little by little, as the market peaked, they started selling off, and I just chose to not I just knew I was coming close to being done, so I just let them slowly sell off, and then I ran into you guys, and I said, okay, this is what I got left.
So you just kind of fell into it. You're helping them, and they decided they want to rent them, and you just fell into, hey, I can place tenants for you. I can manage these properties on your behalf.
Yes.
Wow, that must have been a steep learning curve. Tell us about how
It was
that.
my learning curve, but you know, again, back then, it was a different life.
Yeah.
You know, the pressures. You know, the internet wasn't as big. There wasn't all that information coming at people all the time, so you kind of had the opportunity to learn as you went.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm pretty communicative and honest about things, so if things weren't working right or if something was up, I would just say, hey, this is what we have going on and this is how we plan to fix it, and please be patient, you know, and that's all you can do is just communicate.
Communication
So,
is hands down the most important skill you can have in property management.
Absolutely.
So paramount. So do you have a mentor? Did you kind of self-taught? How did you learn
I pretty
the
much
ropes?
was pretty much self-taught. I mean, went to started going to NARPM.
Yeah.
And started learning that way as well, because then I realized there was a group of property managers around, so I started getting involved with that, and it made it a bit easier because then there's people to ask questions to, listen to, and a lot of the continuing education had to do with property management and people talking about issues in property management. So it wasn't hard to learn more and then more comfortable to make a phone call of, hey, what would you guys do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We love
So-
NARPM, like having that community of fellow property managers you can bounce ideas off of. Like it's a unique industry.
It was,
Lots of
it
great
was very
stories
beneficial, yeah. So, and then I just little by little just didn't want to do it so much anymore. So
too. So that was your motivation to sell? Like you kind of just decided you were no longer interested in doing it as your clients were selling off their properties?
yeah, and then I got into fitness, and I ended up buying a CrossFit gym, and it was an all-women's CrossFit gym in Ahwatukee, and it was awesome to help women make their lives better and see them get success and confidence and all of the things that were, you know, important, and actually even some of the older women just getting up and down off the floor. I mean, people don't realize that getting off the floor is one of the hardest things most people are going to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, make sure you can do that before you start doing anything else, you know? So it was really interesting bringing people into a point where they're healthy, can lift their own water bottles and their own dog food and do all that kind of stuff, and it was pretty awesome. So
What's some common sense advice that you would give to somebody that's in maybe that position where they're completely deconditioned, they haven't moved, they haven't exercised in years, like, and they're starting from ground zero? Like, what's a good first step that they could take?
you know, every time you get up and down off your seat a couple of times. I mean, you're going to start working your leg, you're going to start working your, you know, your posterior chain and all that stuff. I mean, actually get on the floor and get up.
Yeah.
Do that for 5 minutes and you're going to start working out. You know what I mean? Take a walk around the block, and then the next day take a longer walk.
Yeah. Get an Australian Shepherd.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you can use cans and use your arms. You can do a lot of things. There's a tremendous amount of information online too, but sometimes that's hard because you don't understand how your body should work and move, and if you don't really have somebody kind of seeing you from the other side, it's kind of hard to kind of self-coach yourself if you know nothing. So
Yeah.
And as the owner of the CrossFit gym, you were actually doing instructing, or okay?
I was a level 1 CrossFit instructor.
Tell us about like
So-
I did CrossFit for a couple years. Very intense form of exercise, rigorous, love it. But yeah, I understand it's pretty hard to get certified to become a teacher and stuff too, right? What was
Yeah,
that
I mean, you go
process
through
like?
school, you go through a weekend of training, and then you get tested, and you have to make sure you know what you're doing, and they make sure your form is good and everything else, and then you get certified to do that, and then there's a lot of continuing education with that as well, working with different age groups and stuff, and it was I lost like 50, 60 pounds. It changed my life completely.
Amazing.
Changed my life completely.
And those are a lot of complex Olympic weightlifting moves that you're learning.
That's what I like. I like that stuff. So it was a lot of fun, and it changed everything for me. I mean, I was an athlete my whole life, and then you gain, 200 pounds, and you can't move like you used to. It's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And age happens, life happens. Next thing you know, you're like, ooh. It's like, oh no. So it was really hard to come out of that. But when I found that, it was amazing, and it changed.
Amazing,
a lot of things,
You obviously look great and moving around well now.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, motion is lotion. That's what I say.
Transforming your physical health, what did that do to your mental health too?
Oh, incredibly! It was good for me all the way around. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what helped me decide to just do other things in my life too. It gives you the confidence to
Yep.
feel like you can do anything, and there shouldn't be anything that can stop.
Yeah, just the energy that you
It
are
is
able to
energy,
sustain,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With
I mean, if I don't go work out now, even a couple of times, if I miss a week or I'm traveling, if you don't feel good as well. It's
Yeah.
like, you go back, you're sore, but it's like, okay, I feel better now.
Yeah.
So it actually just keeps your body going.
Yeah, sharing that journey with some of your clients too, right? Helping them through that journey, like I'm sure that was transformative for them. Do you still stay in touch with a lot of
Yes,
these people?
I
And
do.
just yeah,
Yeah, we've all stayed friends for a long time. I mean, you can
Yeah.
help somebody lose 100 pounds and they couldn't even get around that well.
that's a
They're
personal
grateful
connection. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
you having what you had open and that they had the opportunity to be involved. And then they just kept going from there, which is good.
yeah,
So, and I was really fortunate that I decided to sell it right before COVID.
oh okay,
I mean, I just closed it because the company
Yeah.
where we were like you guys are located in a place where a couple of different businesses. Well, they were getting ready to move, they were getting ready to do stuff, and then I started looking for another place, and the commercial rents were outrageous.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore, and I let it go, and then COVID hits like 4 months later.
No,
I'm
good
like,
timing. No kidding. Time matters,
At
right?
least I didn't get a new lease. And I was
Right? That's amazing. Like you're constantly evolving, willing to take on new challenges, and the newest challenge, you've just become a constable, right? In the last
I did,
year?
yes.
How did you fall into that?
Oh, I've been pretty angry about a lot of things in politics, and I've been yelling at the television and doing all that stuff, and then I decided, you know what? I need to do something to be of service to my community again, and instead of just being angry, I mean, we, the people, run our country. And if we, the people, don't run for office and don't be involved, then we're screwed and we're stuck with whoever we're stuck with.
Yeah.
And then why are we complaining if you didn't do it?
no right to complain.
None.
Yeah.
So I decided and I actually did some work with a group called Common Defense, or a progressive veteran group. And we did some stuff in Washington, D.C. during the first impeachment. And it was amazing because I thought we were going to be walked around the Capitol and all the senators and Congress people's offices and stuff. So we were all meeting in one place. We get there, we walk through the magtrometers, and we were just free to go wherever we wanted. I was like, so we can just walk around in here and go anywhere we want? It's like, yeah, it's our house. And I just didn't really, when you're away from it and you're not in the middle of it, you don't realize that they're just people, just
Yeah.
like us.
Yeah.
And we were in the lunchrooms and in the cafeterias, and the people that you see on TV and CNN, and I mean, they're all there because they're having lunch too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And,
Yep.
and then there goes a congressperson this way, and there goes a senator that way, and it's like, they're just people.
Yeah.
And that just told me that I can do this.
Yeah.
So.
For people that don't know, like, what is a constable, and how does the constable serve our community?
Well, a constable is an officer of the court, okay? It is the only elected law enforcement position besides a sheriff, Okay, but we don't have to be law enforcement to do it. So we're just everyday regular citizens that are registered to vote. We're officers of the court. Our law enforcement lane is very narrow. We do paperwork for the courts. We do evictions, which is pretty much why we're here talking, and it kind of melds in well with my past history.
Yeah.
We do evictions, we serve summons, we serve orders of protection, we serve subpoenas, we do garnishments, we do civil arrests, where a civil arrest is you didn't go to court and they want me to come arrest you. And I'm like, I'm not going to arrest you, so knock, knock, knock. Hey, I'm supposed to arrest you? No, if you personally go down to court on your own, I don't have to arrest you.
It's better for you.
So how about you just go to court tomorrow and you don't ever see me again? And they're like, okay.
And they usually go to court. That seems to work. Okay, I know where you are.
Because I don't want to come back here and arrest you, okay?
No.
And they go, I don't want you to arrest me. I'm like, all right, well then go down there. So, you know, I work with the community. To be a constable, you have to live where you work, okay? I am the Kyrene Justice Precinct Constable. So I do all of Ahwatukee, all of Guadalupe, and half of Tempe. So I have from Rural Road to the Phoenix line at 48th Street, and from the South Tempe all the way to Rio Salado. So I've got a pretty big area, and basically right now, the way evictions are going, I mostly do evictions.
Yeah.
So that is what you mostly spend your time doing the
I do 10 to 15
evictions
of those
over.
a day.
Oh wow.
10 to 15. You're on the front lines of the eviction problem in America right now.
I am.
What are you seeing?
I'm seeing people that don't have the resources to take care of themselves if they lose their job for even 1 week. It's shame. It's a shame.
Yeah.
We don't have the resources to help them. I mean, the coffers are there and then they're empty, and they're there and they're empty. I think there needs to be other ways that we can potentially get some of this done. If somebody is sick and they don't have sick leave, even though they might still have a job, they're going to be behind a week and a half of pay or something like that. They're gonna fall behind in their rent. They might not eat because they're going to pay their rent. You know, the hardest ones for me are old people, because they don't have, they're on a fixed income. Well, rents aren't fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Our legislature in our state refuses to put any caps on rents. And you know, as property managers and as landlords and stuff, we're all should be like, hey, you know, we should be able to do whatever we want. Capital market, you know, free capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but to the extent where you hurt the citizens,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like it's become greedflation more than anything lately. So we have that problem that we have seniors that don't have the ability to get, they're on a fixed income, but when rents go up, nobody cares.
Yeah.
They're out.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not right. You know, we shouldn't be doing that to the elderly. We should be protecting them and make sure they're safe.
Yeah.
And that is one of the hardest things. That, single parents, whether it's a mom or a dad,
Yeah.
with kids.
With kids, yeah.
And then the other is veterans. And that one's a heartbreaker for me, because that should never, ever happen. But it does.
Yeah.
So sometimes the veterans don't know where to get their resources. Sometimes the property managers, because they have their, each property management group, whether it's apartment complexes or renting out single homes,
Yeah.
as you guys do and as I had, we have policies, and
Yeah.
we're supposed to follow that policy. And nobody follows the same policies,
Yeah.
okay? Somebody gets evicted, some companies are like, hey, as soon as we file for that writ, if you don't pay, we're not talking to you
We're
anymore.
not talking now.
Okay, some are like, hey, if you can pay me before the constable shows up,
Yep.
you're good, we'll
Yep.
cancel. You know, so, and then some are like, hey, constable shows up and you can pay during that 14 days that
Yep.
you have to come back and get your stuff. If you can pay then, we'll let you back in.
Oh wow.
So I never know who's gonna do what.
Right,
Yeah.
When I go
wrong.
walk the, you know, some of them I do because I'm frequent flyers at some
Yeah,
sure,
complexes,
yeah.
and I understand what their policies are. But I'm never quite sure what's gonna happen. So, you know, for instance, yesterday, I had a veteran, and I didn't know I had a veteran. So I walk in and they say, yeah, he's waiting on rental assistance, but you're here, he doesn't have it, and we waited last month. And I said, okay, and they got their money. And I said, I'll come back in a day or so. If you don't get the money, we'll do the eviction. They're like, no. And he's an ex-veteran. I go, well, there are no such things as ex-veterans.
You're a veteran for life.
And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, oh, I'm just putting it out there. I said, and if he's a veteran, then I need to make a phone call.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh man. And I knew they weren't going to budge, And I was just like, I can't. And they said he's going to turn on. You're going to get waterworks. And I'm thinking, okay, that doesn't get me that much. But in this case, it was a different story.
Yeah.
So I was able to contact Tempe has some. I'm going to tell you this. Tempe has great resources. Mm-hmm. For where I serve, Phoenix is horrible because I'm on the other side of the mountain. Okay, so there's nothing over in our...
Because Ahwatukee's technically part of Phoenix.
Yes. Okay, so if I evict from Ahwatuke, that's City of Phoenix. City of Phoenix, all their resources are in downtown Phoenix.
Downtown, yeah.
So
Yep.
they might not have cars, they might not have ability to go do anything.
And they're stuck on the other side of the
Yep.
mountain. Yep.
So this guy, I was in Ahwatuke and I called Tempe and I'm like, oh God, let me see what happens. But these were actual veteran organizations.
Yeah.
And I called one and left a message. I called another one. He answered, and right when he answered, the other one that I left a message for called me. So I said,
Yeah.
I'll call you back if I need to. Thanks. I took the
Yeah.
other call. Well, they happened to be together, so it was hysterical. They were like, did you just hang up on the other guy? I'm like, I did. Well, we're together. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I told them the situation. I said, I have a veteran here, and I hadn't met him yet. And they were like, okay, fine, get us his phone number, we'll reach out to him. I said, okay. So I said, property management, let's go to his place.
Yeah.
We go in there, I knock on his door, and I'm like, hey, dude, I have some guys that want to help you.
Yeah.
Give me your phone number, but I'm going to have to do the eviction today.
Yeah.
But I can have the rent tomorrow. I go, sir, I understand. I said, and trust me, if it was up to me, I would let you, but it's not up to me. But I do have people that are going to help you. And I gave him the flyer that I had. And he gave me his number. I gave it to the guys. And then he said, he had 3 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Wow.
And I'm just like, and I can see the guy is PTSD'd out. I mean, the way his mannerisms, the way he was speaking. I'm sure he was scared because he was being kicked out.
Yeah.
He was waiting on help.
Terrifying.
And I was just like, inside of me, I'm like, oh God, I hope these guys can help. Because honestly, the majority of times when I call for help, there's a really good chance they don't have the resources.
Yeah.
Or they can't help right that moment. Or, and that's just a heartbreaker that I hand out resources to people. I said, I don't know if I can help you or if they can help you, but this is what I have and I hope you can get help.
Yeah.
So and a lot of times it's over and I don't know what ends up happening.
Yeah.
But they have 16 weeks wait for rental assistance to even just apply.
Wow.
How is that going to help anybody when
Exactly.
in Arizona you can be evicted in less than 30 days?
Right.
In less than 30 days, yeah.
So it's not right in a lot of ways. So these guys ended up, so I just told the guy, I said, you know what, I'm going to go do a couple of other evictions. Why don't you take an hour or so and pack? And because I wanted him to be cool.
Yeah.
I come back, I do the eviction. The guys already talked to him. They set him up in La Quinta. They paid for his room.
Oh, wow.
They're going to pay his rent today.
Yeah.
They bought him groceries. And, when I was evicting him, he was kind of a little cranky with me, and he was cranky with everybody. And he was like, yeah, nobody really cares, but you say you do. And he was like, I said, that's okay, sir. I said, I understand how you feel.
Yeah.
We left, property managers left, and he called me over. And he goes, can I talk to you for a minute? I said, oh, absolutely. He goes, at least in the Army, he goes, I never went to bed hungry. I go, are you hungry? I go, have you eaten? He goes, no. And I'm like, I go, I'm going to go buy you some food right now. He's like, no. He goes, I don't want you to do that. And he was waiting for an Uber to go to the hotel anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm thinking, what do I have? I go, hang on. So I gave him a power bar, and I gave him some water, and I gave him like $20. And I'm like, you need to go. Because I didn't know the guys were going to buy him groceries or anything at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to eat tonight.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't want that. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not taking it back. So you can leave it here on the floor. I don't care. So he was just like, thank you. I said, look, I said, you served in our country, but you went to war. I said, I'm a veteran too, but I never had to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so I hold you guys at a whole nother place.
Yeah.
Because you did what you did for our country.
Yeah.
He goes, well, it doesn't seem like a lot of people do. And I said, you're wrong. But
Yeah.
I go, it's just hard right now. And I said, and I get it.
Yeah.
But, and I'd let him, and I said my goodbyes. And then I called the guys, the veteran guys. I'm like, this guy's hungry.
Yeah.
Okay. I go, I don't know if you guys have handled him yet or not. I go, but he's hungry. And
Yeah.
they said, and they got back with me later. We bought him groceries. We took care of him. They're going to give him resources. They're going to help him get a job because he lost his job. That's the
Yeah.
only reason why he wasn't able to pay his
Right.
rent.
Yeah.
And and then he's a mess, and to pull himself together to get another job with
Yep.
PTSD and everything else, he was just struggling.
No.
So they took care of him. They're going to help him with other services. They're going to help him get a job, and
Yeah.
they're going to make sure he's okay. And I was so grateful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm grateful you were there.
Sure.
Like,
Right.
What a blessing that.
Surely have a big heart.
Yeah. How can, so it's such a sticky subject, right? So what's a compassionate approach that landlords and property managers should take in terms of rent delinquencies? Like,
Well, the ones that, like, say, once we file the writ, we're done,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wrong. I mean, if they take the money, okay? It's a business.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the money?
Yeah.
I mean, if they have, I have had people like say, oh, I've got a $10,000 check at DES, I'm going to go pick it up and I'm going to pay my rent in advance. And I'm like, go get your check.
Yep.
And I've had property managers be mad at me, like, why didn't you just do the eviction? I'm like, because you're going to get paid.
yeah.
And I hold the writ until I know they've got the money. It isn't like I'm like, oh, go do what you got to do, and I cancel it and then I blow it off. I don't do that. I hold on to it, and if they don't do what they say they're going to do, then I'll go do the eviction.
Mm-hmm.
Or I will tell them, you turn in your keys and you move out and you give them possession. At least the eviction won't be on your record. You'll still have a judgment, but you won't have an eviction. I said, all an eviction is, a restitution is possession.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you give up possession, you don't have to see me again. And I said, I don't want to see you either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what I tell them. Pay or turn in your keys, because don't make me come back here.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's worse for you.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I think that property managers should, especially with what's going on today, okay, this is not normal times.
Yep.
I think they should allow people the opportunity that if they can get possession of their unit again, that
Yep.
they can. And I say take it right up to that 14 days.
Yep.
I mean, how much more money does it cost you to have a judgment out there, you're owed money, you have an empty unit, you have to turn it,
Yep.
and then you have to re-rent it. You lose way more money
Yep.
doing all of that than just allowing these people to pay you and stay.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that to me is the best way to do it. And the other thing is potentially just having the resources that you can send a delinquent tenant that gives them something to make a phone call to start that process, because they should be starting the process on any kind of rental assistance on their 5-day notice or the month before when they know they can't pay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but even on your websites, on your portals, are you having problems paying? Read this.
Here's a resource. Yeah.
And it should be on every portal that here's resources if you're having trouble paying rent this month. I mean,
Yeah.
how hard is that? And all that does is gives them the resources, and you've put something out there that you've helped as much as you can help.
Yeah.
And the other thing is I would be very clear with them that communication is super important. I mean, we talked about that right at the beginning. Communication, I have so many people say, well, I sent the property manager an email, but I haven't heard back. I left them a voicemail, I haven't heard back. I go, that's not their responsibility.
Yeah.
That is your responsibility. Look at them in their eyeballs. Go down to the office. Well, they never call me back. I go, well, then go down to the office.
Yeah.
I go, it's not your, just because you called doesn't mean you're not responsible anymore.
Right.
Yep.
So, that's the other thing. If they're scared to say what's going on, where in fact, if they say, this is what I have going on, and here's a plan I want to make with you, property manager, and this is what I have going on, and this is what I think I can do.
Yep.
I believe most property managers would probably work with somebody that's proactive.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And that they're not doing this every month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's those frequent flyers that are the ones that, I mean, I've had guys flying to property management company, breathing hard, like, here's my check.
Yeah.
I'm like, I mean, and they, like, 5 times.
Yeah.
I'm like, aren't you tired of living like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only compounding, right? You're getting
Right.
more and more
and
expensive.
And then they have all the fees on top
Yeah.
of just their rent.
Yep.
That's
So-
great advice, though. Like, as property managers, we always tell residents, like, you have to communicate. The more you communicate with us, the more we can work with you, and we can delay unnecessary eviction action, right? If I know you're going to be able to pay on the 20th, then we can delay these things and work together on that. But yeah, like you said, if you're not communicating, we don't know what's going
They
on.
could
We
be
have to
gone
proceed,
for all
and
you
yeah,
know.
you could have
Yeah.
abandoned the property
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And also, I'd be very clear about being very clear in documentation on if you can't pay, please turn in your keys and give us possession. Because
Yeah,
it's
much
more
more
beneficial
pleasant,
to you.
absolutely,
You don't, and plus their clock stops ticking.
Yeah.
right.
You know what I mean? They're not going to wait that 14 days.
You can
and
save
it's not
yourself
gonna keep
money, save the
all the way
landlord money,
around.
like everybody.
Yeah.
They don't understand the law.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's
they
like
don't-
once that eviction's on your record, I mean, that's remaining there for at least 7 years,
Well,
right?
unless they pay their judgment.
Unless
Once
they pay their
their
judgment, yeah.
then they can have that sealed.
Right.
So.
The situation you went through yesterday matches with a lot of what we deal with. A lot of these delinquencies, if you trace it back, a lot of times it's mental health,
It is
right?
mental health.
So what do you think are the best resources out there that landlords have when they're encountering a situation where a tenant might be experiencing mental health issues and that's leading to delinquency?
Well, you can always try adult protective services. I mean, if you think, I'm sure you guys run into places that are absolutely filthy.
Mhm.
Okay, I see them every day.
Yeah.
And I know that's mental health issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I can understand why a property manager wouldn't want to keep somebody that's infesting every other apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mental health part is tough because we don't have any mental health here anywhere in the United States. Once in the 90s, they said, yeah, well, we don't need these things anymore, and here's homelessness, and here's mental health issues all over the
Right.
place.
Mhm.
So unless people can get help, what they end up doing is they end up either going into drugs or alcohol. I mean, I see the empty bottles and the empty
Yeah.
packages everywhere.
Yeah.
The burnt tinfoil.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's all mental health stuff. And
Uh-huh.
and we don't have the ability to help people in our country that
Yeah.
have mental health issues, and that's unfortunate. Like I said, the thing you can do is you can offer them, and like I said, if it's an older person or somebody that's by themselves and you know that they're really struggling,
Yeah.
APS is great. Let them go talk to them and go and let them figure it out. I mean, you just can call them and say, you know what, I'm the property manager. This person's about
Yeah.
this age. We can tell that they're living in squalor. They're not well. They're hoarders. Whatever.
Yeah.
They may be able to get help out there in that way.
Yeah.
And then they're the professionals. Let them take it from there and do the caseworkers and use caseworkers. So it's tough
Yeah.
dealing with the people.
What do you recommend to landlords that encounter situations where maybe the adult in the home is suffering from a mental health issue and then there's children in the home as well? Like, what do you do then when you're worried about
CPS.
child protective
Yep.
services?
I actually did an eviction. Knock, knock, knock. 4-year-old opens the door. Nobody else is home. I'm like, where's mommy? Spoke to me in 4-year-old. I didn't know what she said. And then she went and got a phone to make a phone call. And I'm like, oh, okay. I go, you know what, baby, you're okay. I go, I'm going to come back later. And I left. But I would have been as nervous about her if she didn't answer the door that I went in and I found her.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have been somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she pulls the door open. Hi. I'm like, oh no. So I just went out to my car, and the first thing I did is I called Child Protective Services. I got a child here. The other thing that I have struggled with, and you guys, because your landlords might not, is that when I see something that children are living in squalor and filth, which I see all the time, I'm evicting them. I don't know where they're
Yeah.
going.
Right.
So how can I call CPS?
Yep.
So these are kids, again, that are falling through cracks, that there's nobody there to help them, because by the time we see it, it's
Yep.
too late. I don't know where they're going. So if you guys see it on home inspections or on something like that, you can call in and say, hey, I'm seeing, children's clothing and stuff all over the house, but the place is filthy and there's dog crap everywhere,
Yeah.
and there's used diapers everywhere, and there's food left out everywhere and there's bugs, then you just call CPS and you don't even have to tell anybody it's you.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe they can get some help and
Yeah.
you know, but you never want to hurt the child where they're, you know, are they better off where they are? Or what kind of crazy world do we ship them into when we get CPS involved
Yeah.
as well? I mean, it's just a really,
Yeah.
we're dealing with human lives and it's tough.
Yeah. You see some tough things out there on a daily basis. Like,
Animals too.
yeah. How do you maintain your sanity through all of that? Like, what are your...
I think it's just going to the gym and you know, and I can't own it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a little older, so I've learned how to kind of not own that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not easy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I can't. I just know I just have to go home and be done and you know, and I will follow up on certain things that need to be followed up on, especially if I've called in help and I'm waiting for them to get help, and I'll stay in touch with everybody involved just to make sure that the person got the help, the house is empty, we made the eviction happen, and all that other stuff. So sometimes I get more involved than I care to, but it's part of it to me.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing to know there's, you know, somebody as compassionate as you out there
Thank
serving
you.
the community like this. I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't take that approach. So hopefully, you're sharing your secret with other constables and taking the same.
there's a handful
Sort of approach.
that feel the same way, and you know, again, it's a dance between the property manager and the tenant.
Yeah.
I can't really take sides, and I have to have permission with property management to kind of be able to do some of the things I do. But when they see the need, they've been really cooperative because I don't try and push for anything that I think is outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more need than anything.
And you mentioned in the beginning you're obviously elected to a term. When is your term up? And do you plan to run again?
I wasn't sure I was going to run again, but I think I am. My term's not up till 2026. And I'll probably run one more time. Again, part of that, we, the people running for office, is I also believe we should have term limits. So I'm not going to camp out somewhere in a position, and
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know what else might present itself to me, and I might have other opportunities to do other things for our community in other ways. I
Right.
don't know, but we'll see.
What else is on your radar? You're obviously constantly taking on new challenges. What are your goals in 24?
In 24, there's a very important election coming up in 24, so
Yes, there
I've got a
is.
lot of work to do. Yeah,
Gonna be out there campaigning.
yeah. I mean, it's about democracy for me right now, and
Yeah.
women's rights. So, and actually immigration as well. I mean, you know, we need to fix all that stuff, and playing politics with all of it, and playing politics with people's lives just isn't right. And I'll do whatever I can to try and help, you know, keep our country going, because, you know, as far as I'm concerned, my oath is still, I took another oath, it's the similar one, so I'm still
Yeah.
under oath.
Well, thank you for your service to the community. It's been great chatting with you today and
my
learning
pleasure.
a great approach to being a constable. If people want to reach you and chat, how can they contact you?
Well, my campaign website is BB, my initials, 4az.com, and that's my website, and you can contact me through that. I'm with Maricopa County Constable, so you can always look me up that way. You know, I'm happy to answer anybody's question, especially that's in property management that is interested in talking to me about any of this. So,
Great. Thank you so much for your time
it's
today.
a pleasure, guys.
Thanks, Bridget.
Good time. Thank you.